Tingana killed. So I mean that's a relatively high mortality rate for leopards and adult leopards in a relatively small area, and that is probably quite a lot to do with the high male turnover over these couple of years. So let's hope that we're going to have a little bit more downtime when it turns in terms of male turnover over the next little while, and that should stabilize quite a few of these populations. Now, with Shaluva coming into the area, it's quite interesting, because she's obviously not scared of Hukumuri. She's been seen mating with Hukumuri, but Tandi still has a young cub that Hukumuri would definitely kill. So she's moved well to the east and has actually been pushing into her old territory quite a bit around where Kachava is currently at the moment. So, as I said, this high male dynamic has caused quite a few shenanigans. Vimpy, what do you feel like doing? Should we take a chance and shoot down to Chilakatla and see if there's any sign of Tandi? Or do you want to do one or two more loops here? We've invested a lot in Hukumuri. Okay, Vimpy, I'll take that hint. Yeah, we're going to keep trying to find Hukumuri. While we do that, it sounds like Chitra has made his way to the biggest waterhole in the northern Sabi sands.
I have indeed, and we just had a pied kingfisher that has flown away, and it's landed on the other side of the tree, so it's just flown a little bit just to maybe get a bit of shade, because the sun is starting to really bake down, and so I'm sure that little bird has decided shade is in order. And the hippos have got the right idea on a day like today. They're going to try and wallow their day away and enjoy the cool, refreshing water that Chitwa Dam offers. I would imagine that it's got a nice temperature to it. Given how big the dam is, it will retain temperature quite well. It's not going to fluctuate in temperature too much. If you have smaller bodies of water, they tend to fluctuate in temperature a lot more than large bodies like this. So it should be a fairly temperate water and perfect for a bit of lounging on a hot day. And you can see a number of hippos that are spread about. The other thing that you can see with Chitwa Dam today is that there is absolutely no wind to speak of. You can see how calm and flat this dam is. There is no sort of ripple at all. It's absolutely beautiful at the moment. So perfect day for many an animal to come down to Chitwa Dam for a drink and a bit of sunshine. I would think that we would probably have a number of ellies coming down at some point during the course of the day today, maybe even some buffalo. I can smell buffalo all over the place here, and there's dung, and I think Brent had buffalo here yesterday. I'm not sure, maybe he did, I can't remember, but there was buffalo around, so maybe them. You'll also have lots of impalas and waterbuck and all of those antelope species coming in as well. So it should be a good day at Chitra. I think this afternoon will be a wonderful afternoon to spend here. This morning is pretty on the quiet side. There's not as many animals as I would have thought there were going to be. I would have thought that we would have seen, some of the antelope species on the open area, but there's only one lonely waterbuck that's been around, and then these hippos that are spread out all over the show. And I can't work out if the hippo numbers are getting more or if it's gotten less, because there's normally a kind of group that hangs around towards the sort of eastern side of the dam, but there's no sign of them, and so I think maybe some of the hippos might have moved off. Oh, there's a little baby that's sticking its head up and saying hello. Hello, little one. Very cool to see. I wonder if that's maybe the one that Brent saw for the very first time January last year. It would be interesting to know if it is. Anyway, we'll kind of sort of lurk about Chitwa Dam, see what else is here and what we can find. Maybe Tingana is lying about. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Taylor Mack, who I think is still sitting at the elephant.
We did a little loop around though. We went to check Twin Dams and Hosanna's favourite pans. Remember when you used to live in those little pans just south of... Oh. The wind just changed direction. Craig, did you also inhale that? That wasn't very nice. Anyways, we might have to go back to our original spot, because now the wind is starting to swirl, and it's so stinky. It is a horrendous smell. Absolutely horrendous. Anyways, there were no hyenas in the water, unfortunately. Now, I tried to go around to show you that cavity that the vultures are now streaming into, and that's sort of at the base of the not the base of the head, at the top of the head. But I don't think that they'd be getting the brain just yet. I think they're eating the flesh around it. I think that needs to open up a little bit more, and they need to find a little spot. But maybe they're going to get to the brain sooner than we initially thought. I think everyone's going to be fighting for that. I mean, brain all over the world is a delicacy. I can't say that I've ever eaten brain of any animal. Have you, Craig? No? I haven't. Nikki, have you eaten the brain of any animal? I wouldn't even be able to begin to try and describe the texture to you. But nothing goes to waste out here. They will. They're going to devour everything. It's so insane. Specially designed long necks to be able to stick them right on in, reach where no one else can reach. And I bet they're more efficient feeders than hyenas too, because of those long necks. Able to get to spots and places that an animal with such a large jaw like a hyena, a lion, a leopard would never be able to get to. Also feeding in between the ribs, getting all... Oh no, it's so stinky. So terrible. I'm not enjoying the smell, that's for sure. But it's okay. Craig, I'm sorry you didn't bring your bath. I'm glad I brought my scarf. That's for sure. Now, Justin, you're asking me if I can try and describe the smell. Okay, here we go. We'll ask Craig what he thinks as well. I think it smells like... I'm going to inhale it now, just for you, Justin. It's terrible. Like if you left a chicken in the deep freeze, right at the back, and your fridge is all iced up, and then you switch the fridge off to thaw it out, to let all that ice that is built up melt away. But then you also went on holiday. You came to South Africa for 2 weeks. And then you got back home, and you can just smell that there's something that's not right. And the next minute you walk to the fridge, to, put it all back together. Maybe you're going to go and wipe it on out now that everything's defrosted, clean up the water. And as you open that fridge, that waft of rotting chicken that's been in there for 2 weeks, that's now covered in maggots because the flies always find a way in, that is kind of what we're smelling. With a combination of dirty hyena that also smells like a bit like drain water, much feces, like the stinkiest dog feces you've ever smelt in your entire life, times 10. It's weird. I mean, I've never smelt anything like it before. Well, other than being in the bush, of course, we tend to smell it quite often out here, rotting carcasses, but it's not very nice. Kevin bringing some humour to the sighting. It's always good. Wait. Now, Kevin, you've spotted all the vultures that are just sort of sitting away. And your comment was, it's kind of like they're all just at a Sunday barbecue. It is, yeah, there we go. There's Jack and John, discussing wife problems perhaps, or perhaps the kids have been reprimanded at school. They're looking for some advice, And then we've got, who else have we got? We've got all the girls in the tree, up on top, sitting, having a nice chat, just enjoying themselves, relaxing, taking a moment away from the kids and the husbands, And then, of course, oh my goodness, there's so much defecating everywhere, those vultures. I suppose it's got to go somewhere, though. But yeah, it kind of is. Oh, some hyena action. All trying to fight now over that spot, trying to tear away at that tough hide to get in further. Very cool. Right, well, as you can imagine, we're still going to sit here to see who else comes about. Maybe we're going to get some hyena fights, but off we go to Tristan, who's still at Chitwa Dam.
Well, hopefully, Taylor, you've had lots of action at that sighting this morning from hyenas to leopard to vultures. It all seems to be happening. But I think your description of the smell of a elephant carcass being like a chicken that's been left in the fridge is being very, very, very kind at best. I think that there is no smell quite like it, but it is absolutely horrific. It is the worst kind of smell. Although I think maybe a rotten hippo is probably the next best thing. The hippo has this kind of thick skin that's just really starts to smell incredibly bad. So those are my top two worst smelling animals when they are dead. I think that elephants, they can smell bad, and I don't think a chicken even comes close. It just doesn't have the same. Maybe it's just because of the size of an elephant, it just gets into your nostrils that much more, and it's that kind of smell that singes your nostrils. It feels as though it's burning as it goes in, and your eyes start to water, and you start to kind of get that catch in your throat that you feel like you're going to get a gag reflex at any minute. That's kind of how a elephant carcass smells. And I did give Taylor some advice. I told her to go and find herself some of that fever tea that we had on bushwalk the other day and shove it up her nostrils and sit in the sighting like that, but she didn't really want to. So I think I might do that. If I go there this afternoon, I'll go and harvest some. I might look funny for the entire drive, but I don't really mind. At least I'll smell mint rather than rotten elephant, and that will be a lot better. Anyway, our hippo's still doing what hippos do and is wallowing about. We've had a couple of the little ones yawning and showing off a little bit, but they seem to have all settled down now, and everybody's taking it very, very easy. There's also not as many birds as I thought there would be this morning. There's obviously the obligatory Egyptian geese around, but very few lapwings or plovers or any of those kind of things hanging about on this side. Maybe on the other side we'll have more luck. Hunter, we are currently moving from our summer into autumn at the moment, or fall, as you guys call it sometimes. Well, I don't know where you're from, Hunter. Actually, you might call it autumn too, but if you're from the United States, fall is what you know it as. And so we're starting just to edge off out of our summer now. It's the temperatures and the kind of conditions are changing a little bit. Start to get these really deep blue skies through our winter period with no clouds. And so we're starting to head into that sort of period. But here in South Africa, or in this part of the world, our seasons are very interesting. We tend to have quite long summer and long winter and very short fall and spring. In fact, I think last year our spring was about 1 week. And it went from kind of coolish conditions to blisteringly hot and, kind of nowhere near what you would think of a springtime temperature. So we have very short sort of in-between seasons and then long summer and long winter, which is quite nice. And so that's where we're at the moment. We're going to be starting to get cooler temperatures day by day, less rain, and things are going to start changing quite dramatically as we start to get cooler temperatures. It also means that our days start to get shorter, therefore the plants have less time to photosynthesize, and you have a situation where the growth of plants with the cold and less sunlight means that they start to die off, and so the green tinge that we've got on the bush now is going to slowly start turning into that browns and light colors, and eventually, we're going to have in about a month and a half, 2 months time, it's going to look quite sort of dry and drab out here in comparison to what we see now. So it's going to be a bit of a change in things, and luckily we had a bit of late rain, because otherwise it would have been really dire in terms of the amount of water that we had in this area, and it's still going to be a dry winter, that's for sure. So, Sassy, it's our absolute pleasure. I think we are enjoying being at Chitwa Dam just as much as you are. It is seriously a beautiful spot, particularly when you've got a clean, crisp day like this. The water takes on those blue kind of tones. You get beautiful reflections, and it is just such an amazing spot to sit and watch what goes on, because sometimes you'll sit here and all of a sudden an elephant will arrive, or a leopard will pop out of nowhere, or you'll have all of these kind of things that happen, and you get these, it's just random stuff happens at Chitwa Dam. And so its beauty, combined with the fact that it's a great hotspot for wildlife, is the perfect place to spend any time whatsoever. So I love spending time at Chitwa Dam. I want to try and see if we can go and find Snappy, Taylor's little friend, and so I think what we're going to do is meander past our hippos and head up onto the dam wall to try and find Snappy, because I think Snappy's probably hanging around the dam wall somewhere. I also want to try and find Boris and Vlad as well. So Wisteria, this is a question that many people ask as to how cold it actually gets in July or in our winter months, and is it really that bad? So the answer to that is, in my poor blood that is not used to cold weather, it gets freezing. It gets very, very cold. But the lowest temperatures we normally get in this area are about 2-3 degrees. That would be considered a very cold morning. The thing is, though, and this is what catches everybody that comes to Africa, because everyone always thinks of Africa as this hot, sunny place, and that, 3 degrees is not that bad. I've been in minus 20, and that's all well and fine, but you must remember that you're in 3 degrees centigrade with a open vehicle and a wind chill that takes it below sort of zero, and that there is no hiding from that wind. It's going to just hit you from every direction, and it really does get very cold. And I've had people that have come from some of the coldest places I know, Russia, Alaska, all over the place, even Norway, Finland, those areas that have been cold on Game Drive in July because they've come ill-prepared for the cooler weather. It is a place where you need to have layers, so much like we started out this morning with 2 jerseys on and we're now down to just t-shirts. It's like that. You have to have stuff that protects you from the cold and the wind, and then you've got to have stuff that you can kind of take it off, that you can then get into some, if the warmer weather comes. So Sam, my favorite season is gone already, unfortunately. I like the sort of spring, early summer. That's my favorite time of the year, and the reason why I like it is because we go from this dry winter period where it's been kind of no rain, it's been cold, there's often very, very windy, it's brown, there's very few birds in comparison to the summer, to all of a sudden these things starting to arrive, and there's this excitement that builds up as you start to see the first woodland kingfisher, the first of the bee eaters that arrive, the first kind of your plant species that start to come out with flowers, and so this kind of anticipation builds up, and then you see this beautiful change from those browns to these emerald greens that are vivid and bright, and it just seems like life abounds at that sort of time. You also get the birth of the impalas and birth of baby animals, and so that period of the late spring into the early summer is my favorite time of the year. It's not everybody's because of how hot it is. It gets really hot at those times, and it's not uncommon to have temperatures that go up towards 120, 110 Fahrenheit, and then you've got a situation where you do get storms, and you know, it can be uncomfortable. Insects are around, but I just think the amount of life that is out here just far sort of outweighs any of those issues, and that's why I enjoy it. It's a time of plenty and a time of lots of interesting things, and you get to see amazing insects, and it's almost like you feel like you're going to discover new things every day when it's that period, and that's what I like most about it. So that's my kind of favorite time of the year. I know everybody's got a different time. A lot of people like winter because the game viewing tends to be a lot better in winter because of the lack of water, everything congregates. But for me, I think the summer periods, or the spring into summer, is my favorite time of the year. Good. Now, hippos are still lounging about. I want to just head into the far corner to try and see if Snappy's sitting there. Let's just meander along the dam wall and see if Snappy's around. The last time I saw Snappy was right where I am now, just lounging about, taking it very easy, but Snappy seems to have maybe moved on and found himself a new spot to sit. I suppose when you're a small crocodile like that, the world is your proverbial oyster, and so is Chitra Dam, and you can just go around all over the place and sit wherever you like. So Snazzy, no, we didn't name them Snap, Crackle and Pop. We should have, but Taylor is convinced that this one needs to be named Snappy. It can't be Snap, it has to be Snappy, and so we've got Snappy now. And then we were thinking of Crackly and Poppy, but that didn't really kind of come off too well, so it then became, I think what did we settle on the other day? I don't even know. We started thinking about names, and I don't know if we settled on a name at all, but I think we got to the point where we were thinking of, we didn't come to a conclusion, did we? But we at one point had Snappy, Snippy and Zippy. Yeah, Zippy, Snippy and Snappy was the name, and then there was Snappy, Crackle and Pop. There was Snappy, Crack, no, not Crack, Croc and Pop, that's right. And what else was there? There's a few, but we haven't really decided on one. I'll have to consult, like I say, Taylor, because she's the naming queen and likes to name everything. And Brent, who used to bleat about naming animals, has also become very much like that, where he names everything he sees as well. He's named the wildebeest that have been around, and he used to, like I say, bleat to me that he doesn't like naming animals, but secretly he does. Don't tell him I said that, but he secretly does like to give them all nicknames, and so he's particularly also bad at, well, not bad at it, but he also does give them quite a few, and Taylor is probably the one that does the most. Right. no crocodiles that I can see so far, which is interesting because I can't even see the big crocs. And so while I try to find them and see where everybody's hanging out in the croc world, let's send you back across to Taylor Mac, who hopefully has dodged the smell and is now somewhere else where it is smelling fresh and clean.
We did. We moved back to our original position, Tristan, as we felt that this was the safest spot. However, I'm still wrapped up. Craig and I just watched something hilarious. It was so funny. All the vultures, as you can see, inside the cavity. Look how they're picking the bones clean, or where the ribs are. Look at that. We couldn't see that earlier. Just to show you how much they've actually eaten in just 2 hours. And basically this hyena wanted to get inside the cavity and no one was responding to, well, it's its presence. You'd think that the vultures would move away. They weren't having any of it. So the most hysterical thing happened next. The hyena grabbed one of the vultures by its feathers and sort of threw it out. Didn't eat it, just pulled it by its feathers. It was very funny, and then everyone else quickly moved on out. It's hilarious, the way that they behaved. Oh, what did that one try and do? Dive bomb on in. It's not a swimming pool. That was also quite cool to see. Oh, these things are crazy creatures. You're going to have a lot of fun just sitting here watching them. It's quite fascinating. In fact, where are my binoculars? I want to look at some of these vultures a little bit closer. Oh, here we might have another fight again. Come on, fight, fight, fight. I want to see somebody dive bomb out the sky again. So I don't know if there's also the hyenas that are here now. I don't know if they're from the same clan as what we had earlier, or if they've come in. And that's why they are so nervous looking around. Maybe there are some of the males, the lower ranking ones, coming through. Oh no. What is happening to my car? Can you hear that, Craig? My car is making a really weird clicking noise and I don't know why. There's the indicator. But it won't go off. No. Sorry everybody, I don't know what's going on with my car. I'm going to start it very quickly. No, Craig, what is that light? Can you see? No? Sorry everybody, we're just having some... I don't know what that is. What has actually happened? My car is now ticking. And the light is flashing, but I have no idea what that light actually is. Ah, it was the hazards. I think I must have turned it on with my foot, but the hazard signs on the dashboard is a lot different to some of the other makes of vehicles. That was so funny. I was like, oh my goodness, it was like a bomb. It was going to explode. Oh, check. A hooded vulture is now joined. Hello, welcome to the party. Welcome, welcome. Also just coming in for the scraps now. Oh goodness, lots and lots of commotion going on. My goodness, you won't believe what you can see though with binoculars. I suppose it's the same with a camera. I mean, but sometimes it is nice to pick up binoculars and see what's really going on. Wow, this is amazing. Come on. Come on, vultures, make noises. I wonder if they still got Hosanna. Sorry, I was just listening to the Game Drive radio. No, I don't know if that's what they're actually talking about anymore. Oh, no. You didn't get that, hey, Craig? There was a vulture that got defecated on again on one of the legs. That is terrible. This is very cool. I wonder if we're going to see any tawny eagles, any bateleurs coming through as well, because they'll feast on a carcass if there's an opportunity to. It'll be nice to see them pop on around. I haven't actually seen any of them sitting up in the tops of the branches. But I think what we're going to do now is I think we're actually going to move away from this carcass and go and see if we can find out where Hosanna is. I don't know where they left him. I don't think he would have gone too far. He was on his way towards sort of Elephant Carcass Road, if I heard correctly. Making way, making room for the hyena. Okay, well, I'm going to chat to Taxon very quickly about where Hosanna went so we can get him for the last little bit of the show, as I'm sure we'll have more hyenas feasting this afternoon on the elephant. I'm listening to them. We'll talk on the radio now. But while we do that, let's go back across to Brent and see if he's any closer to figuring out which leopards are on the property.
Well, we decided to give up on Hukamuri for now, mainly because he's not very comfortable with us on foot. So I don't want to walk in there and chase him, and he's very close to the boundary. So I'm hoping maybe this afternoon we might have a bit of luck. So no one's really checked for Tundi this morning, so we're just doing a quick drive down the eastern boundary, and if we get no luck with Tundi, we might go back to the Nkahumas while Tristan is on Chitra. So there's the various plans. We're not exactly sure what we're going to do next. It all depends on what we might find. Now, there's lots of different ectoparasites that are on big cats, such as ticks and fleas, Chitty Chatty Meg. They are infested with fleas. If you ever have to catch one, you are almost certain to be bitten by fleas as well. So yes, they do have fleas. And I have been bitten by fleas that have been off lion and leopard and hyena and wild dog, while we're doing research on them. No sign of Tundi. She's been in Torchwood for quite a while now. I wonder if, with Hukamuri calling last night, she might have decided to stay that side. Now, Kachava is also in Torchwood, a little bit further south, in what was sort of around the Mulwanini, which was sort of Tundi's core range before Karula disappeared and Tundi moved further to the north and west. Now, in the Sabi Sands, we're very lucky that we know a lot of the lineages of the leopards, and Shadulu's mother is a leopard called the Ingrid Dam female. Libby Bug, the Ingrid Dam female, and she is from a property called Ottawa, which is to the southwest of Elephant Plains, in that area. Her mother used to just come into the northern Sabi Sands, but hyenas everywhere. But the other the reason she's probably moved so far is because there were two female cubs that survived from her litter. So there were two Ingrid Dam's females. I'm not sure what's happened to the other one. She might have stayed closer to home, forcing this one to move further out. Tristan probably knows a little bit more about those leopards and their history than I do, from his time around that part of the Sabi Sands. Okay. No sign of Tundi, unfortunately. So let us go back towards the west from the far eastern boundary. Just some hippo tracks here. So let's see if Tristan knows a little bit more about Shadulu's history and her sister, or if she even had a sister. I'm pretty sure she did. Let's go find out.
Brenda, not that I know of. In the time that I've followed her, I haven't heard of her having a sister, and I don't think she did, to be honest. She may be early on, but definitely not later, not from what anyone's told me. So it's possible, but I don't think so. And in terms of her history, comes from an area that's very, very quiet in terms of traversing. Not many people traverse it at all, and there's a situation where they don't really spend much time there. Ooh, that's nice. That roller's sitting right out in the perfect spot to get all of its beautiful colors on one bird. So look at that. The sun is hitting it in just the right spot that you can see every incredible color on that bird itself. So she comes from a part of, not this roller, but Shadulu comes from a part of the Sabi Sands called Ottawa, and a place called Dam. And so her mom is Dam female, and not to be confused with Shadulu, because Shadulu, before she was called Shadulu, was known as Dam young female. So she's not Dam female, that's her mother. And little is known about her mom. She's very infrequently seen, if you want to call it that, by the guys on Londolozi and Singita, and she pops into the northern side every now and then. And I've seen her mating a few times, and theoretically her father is Anderson. They were mating at around the time that Shadulu should have been born, and so it should be Anderson that is the father of Shadulu. And then you've got us beyond that, we don't know very much at all. The first time I saw her was in, what are we now? We're 2018, 2016, might have been end of 2015, beginning of 2016 was the first time I saw Shadulu, and she kind of came in and out, and then we didn't see her for a long time, and then she spent a lot of time at sort of eastern side of Elephant Plains, and then also onto Elephant Plains airstrip. She was there a lot when she just separated from her mom, and then we found her more and more coming this way. And I think the fact that Salahesh unfortunately kind of passed away, that meant that there was this gap for this young female to start pushing further this way, and then Tiani started to kind of get into the fold, and Moya, and that's now why Shadulu is starting to probably move further northwards. And then the gap that has been left by Shadow, Karula, is meaning that we've got a situation where she's coming in. Now, when I say the gap that's left by Shadow, that's not that Shadow is gone and we don't know where we just don't know where she is, and there's definitely she's not patrolling that area, and that's when I say a gap. It's not because I'm saying Shadow is dead or anything like that. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. It's just that there is a gap there that is not being patrolled and not being scent marked, and so that means that you have a situation where a young female who's trying to establish herself and is mating, and the male she's mating with is pushing into that area. It's perfect for her to kind of just follow in and try and set up a territory of her own. So it's going to be interesting if Shadow does arrive again, what would happen to what would go on there, because theoretically is they occupying right in the same sort of area that Shadow did. So it will be interesting. We'll just have to wait and see how it all works out. But in terms of the rest of her history, there's not much else that we know about it. So Randy Apple, very difficult to keep tabs of a leopard moving out of the area, as we've seen. So there's many examples of leopards that have moved out of this area. It just depends where they go. So if they go into the Sabi Sands area, then it's fairly easy. Then you get regular updates on them. If they go out, then you've got very little that comes our way. So two examples of that would be Kunyuma, who's gone into Mala Mala, regular updates on him almost daily actually. Whereas you look at somebody like Shivamalana, Mishu and Duna, Sakani, Shungile for any possibility, they go out of the reserve and into the Kruger, and the updates just dry up completely, and we then don't know anything about them or where they've gone. So it makes it really tough. There's no way to follow them even through Panthera. Panthera is not like any of these animals have collars or are chipped or anything like that, because I know a lot of people think that that's what happens with these animals, but that's not the case. So once they leave the Sabi Sands, that's it. We honestly don't know where they go, and so there's no way to follow their sort of movements and their pathways when these kind of things happen, which is in a way frustrating, because you spend all this time with these animals when they're cubs, and you get them to the point where they're relaxed, and you start to develop this whole kind of story, but it's a relationship, if you want to call it that you've started to kind of watch this animal, and you become so fond of it, and you learn so much about it, and then it disappears. It's quite a difficult thing to do and to swallow, and really is quite tough, particularly with a charismatic animal like a leopard. So there's no real way to be able to follow them once they go out of the Sabi Sands. But if they're in the Sabi Sands, then Panthera, as well as just general social media kind of posts all over the place. So Randy Apple, exactly. If Shongile goes into Kruger National Park, the people that go to the Kruger National Park have not got the faintest clue who Shongile is. I mean, you must remember that there's over 1 million visitors to the Kruger National Park a year, and in that 1 million visitors, there's a little tortoise that's on the road that's going to leave the road fairly shortly. A little Speaks hingeback tortoise that's going off the road with that flattened shell. But most of those people that go into the Kruger have never seen safari live. They don't know how to identify a leopard, even what Shongile looks like, what it ages, and some of the sightings that they're going to have are going to be brief glimpses of a leopard crossing a road. And we're talking about people that go there sometimes on a holiday that have their cell phone as a tool for a camera, and so you don't get a lot of ID photographs, and a lot of people that do take photographs don't even put them up onto any social platform, and that's why it's very difficult to know where our leopards go and whether or not they're there. Take Tsakani for an example. Now, Tsakani was a female born to Kwatile female, which was on Hofma and Lugari, a little bit into Djuma, seen mating every now and then up there, and she had a daughter, Tsakani, and Tsakani was here over the course of 2015 into 2016, and we saw her on a couple of live drives. Because all of a sudden she disappeared, gone. That she was very far into the Kruger National Park, and it was by a complete fluke that somebody came across. Well, not fluke. People, there's a lot of very, very dedicated people that go through a lot of the leopard photos and look and try and see if they can find our, individuals that we know so well. And somebody came across a photo of Tsakani all the way in the Kruger National Park, and on a termite mound way away from this area. And then 2 weeks ago, there was another photo that came up of her even further south of that. So she's now south of Skakuza, which is a long, long, long way away from where we are. And it just goes to show that it's difficult to monitor. So there's only 2 photographs in over a year and a half of that leopard out of all of the kind of sightings that have been happening in Kruger. To find that is very difficult. So those that have found those photographs and do spend so much time looking for wherever our animals go, it is, we have greatly appreciated it here at Safari Live, and we're very thankful that there are people that spend a lot of time looking for those animals and trying to help us in terms of finding out where they go. So, it's difficult. It's not an easy thing, and I'm pretty sure if you've ever spent any time on any of these kind of Kruger pages, there's just thousands of photographs that come out, and a lot of it is in areas that we don't really know, and there's a lot of situations where there's a lot of other sightings in between. So you've got lions and cheetahs and wild dogs and elephants and buffalo and all kinds of other photos in between all the leopard photos. So it's not like there's a central leopard point that you can just go to and everyone loads their photos there. It's not quite the same thing, and obviously people are not marketing themselves as the same as lodges would, and so you don't see nearly as many photographs coming out of there as you would out of the Sabi Sands. So difficult, not easy to monitor leopard movements. We're just lucky that we have a great density, and that we are able to kind of glean as much information as we can from what we see. That allows us to live the lives that these animals live. It's a very special thing that we are able to do, and hopefully in time, you never know, we maybe expand and go out, and we encompass more and more territories, that we can have answers to a lot of the questions that we can't answer now, as to where a lot of our leopards go and things like that. So journey's only beginning, really, with our leopard families and stories. Trish, you have just reminded me we are. So Trish wants to know if we're very close to the barn owl nest, and so we actually are not too far at all. So let's go and pop in there. I completely didn't think of it. It would have been better to have gone this afternoon, and I'll try and explain to whoever comes to Chitra this afternoon. I don't know if it'll be me or Brent or Taylor, but one of the three of us will come here, and I'll try and explain. And if we come at the perfect time of the day, when the sun is just setting and just sort of above the horizon, it's going to be the perfect time to view these owls. But let's go and have a little look quickly. It's not far. It's maybe not even 200 meters down the road here, so I can just quickly jump there and go and have a little look for you. I've got a brand new shiny sparkly spotlight that we can try to see if we can see inside. And when I say it's bright and shiny, you will see what I mean. It looks actually a little bit like a rotary sander, and Steph got them for us, but they seem to be very, very kind of effective. I was testing it last night because obviously Jigger failed and I was in the tent, and so I was testing it at camp last night just to see what they like, and they've got a bit of punch to them, so we'll give them a little go right now and see how it goes. But you'll see what I'm talking about just now. I'll get it out for all of you, and you can then have a little laugh with me, because they are, I would say, not inconspicuous. They are rather noticeable things, and given I suppose that we're out at night, that's okay. Then no one will really see them other than us, and so we can just have a little chuckle to ourselves every time we use them. But like I said, they look just like a power tool. That's what they look like. Now, this little road is a difficult one to get into, or the nest is a difficult spot to get into, so I've just got to come round. And the problem is I don't want to do it too much, because otherwise we're going to make a massive two-track here, which I also don't want to do, because it is an owl's nest and we don't want to destroy too much vegetation to get to it, and also don't want to disrupt the owls too much. So we'll check it as much as we can, but not all the time, I think is probably the best way to go about this. Now, this is where I had my vehicle the other day. Darby, can you see inside this there? You've got a good gap now. So this is where the nest is itself. It's got a little gap. Now I've got to just see when Darby goes onto the nest itself whether or not I'm in the right one. So it's straight across into that hummercorp nest, Darby. Let's see, go straight through that gap between those tambuerties, up a little bit to your left. Okay, I need to go forward a bit for you. Let me just go forward. So this is the first time Dave's coming with me to see this nest. So it's in that dead tree at the back there, Dave. That hole there that you see. Alright, so let's see if we've got any action at the barn owl nest today. I'm going to try and just get our fancy new spotlight in there somehow. Am I making any difference there, Dave? I don't think so at this stage. Well, of course, if I actually pointed it somewhere towards the hole, that might make a difference. Do we see anything moving there today? It's difficult on my screen to see anything. I don't even know if I'm actually shining in there. Hold on, Dave. Let me get back a little bit so that I can see where everything is, and I can maybe try and actually get a bit better light source onto it. But it doesn't look like I'm doing too much. But straight into that hole there is where, theoretically, there should be the barn owl. So if anybody sees any movement, let me know. I don't see anything myself. The light doesn't seem to be doing too much at this stage. So I think they're probably quite deep into the nest itself. So maybe this afternoon is a better time to come and have a little look. We're going to try and see if we can find them this afternoon, given that the light will be much better for this, and our lights themselves will take over and kind of work out. But before we go anywhere, there's our fancy new spotlights. Look at them. They are bright as bright can be. I think even if I was lost somewhere, I could throw the spotlight up without it being on, and somebody would see it. It is a bright orange spotlight. And then I was saying it looks like a power tool, because when they sit like that, it looks a little bit like a sanding device, doesn't it? There we go. So there's the new spotlight for Jigger. Hopefully it will work, and hopefully it will bring us some luck, given how bright it is. Good. Now we're going to kind of move on from here, and we'll just go one more time past the dam, see if there's maybe any ellies around. But while we do that, I believe I need to send you somewhere, but I've forgotten, because I'm getting old, and like I say, I have custard brain, and so it's either going to be somebody with big golden locks, or it's going to be somebody with, well, locks that have been trimmed and is a large human in comparison to the other.
Oh, welcome back. As you say, you never know what's going to happen on a live safari. All of a sudden, battalier, tawny eagle, hooded vultures all dropping onto the ground. Now, we're not far from where the Inkahumas are sleeping, and I wonder if they caught a buffalo calf last night, because this is, you can see the buffalo was sleeping here, and now all of a sudden the vultures were coming off the ground right here. We're not far from where the lions are, but this is where the buffalo was sleeping, and there's a lot of vultures. Well, most of the vultures are concentrating on the elephant. See something, Vimpy? But we saw the vultures land on the ground and then take off, so there is almost certainly something here. There's one of the hooded vultures that we saw careering. Oh, of course it takes off now. Careering downwards. All I can smell is buffalo dung at the moment. Let's just do one quick look before we head towards the last position of the Inkahumas. There's a battalier here, there's a tawny eagle. Now, the hooded vultures have a smaller wingspan than the whitebacks and the capes that you were seeing a bit earlier. I will find out exactly what their wingspan is for you in a second. I think maybe the lions caught a baby buffalo, very small one, last night. Probably just picking up scraps. It looked like here, Javier, they're coming off the ground. Let me just find out about that vulture for you, PT Watcher. Tristan's trying to call me. Standing by, Trist. Oh dear, so much happening in the last little moment now. So Ali is actually driving out of Chitwa for the next few days, and update from her that apparently Shidulu is heading east towards Triple M. Okay guys, you've got a very quick decision to make. Must I go to the sleeping Inkahumas, or must we throw a gamble and head for Shidulu? So you let me know. And you've got a very quick time to make that decision. We've got 15 minutes, and it'll take me 5 to 7 minutes at Ferrari Safari to get there. So, but quickly, the hooded vulture, wingspan, 1.8 meters. So let me just check with Tristan exactly where. So the Inkahumas are just here, down there. Tristan, let's just get a bit more information. Okay, so Tristan's finding... Oh, it's 50-50. This is so stressful. I'm just waiting for a little bit more information from Tristan to find out exactly where it is. If it's down towards Triple M Junction, Gowrie Main, we might not make it. But if it's close to Impala Plains, we will. Okay. Okay, I know it is. It's close enough. It's 50-50. I'm the deciding vote. Hold on! I know where it is. It's close enough for us to take the gamble. Let me just tell Tristan. Okay. So I'm just listening to Tristan again. We're racing. Copy, thanks, Tristan. Yeah, I'm on Rebecca's. I'm gonna try and make my way. Hold on for the Ferrari Safari. Sorry, Nikki, I'm trying to listen. Copy, confirm. Copy, thanks very much. So I know exactly where it is, in fact. Hopefully we've got time for a last lap. Fortunately, far away. So I'm pretty sure the Nkuhumas are going to be like this. But a mobile leopard is definitely far more entertaining. Now, I haven't seen Shidulu since the last time I actually saw her. She was still called the Ingrid Dam Young Female. How long ago it was, and unfortunately in a spot that was full of gremlins. So we was with actually Brian Joubert. So we saw her, but we couldn't put her on camera. Dear. Sorry, there's other people who are not quite sure, who are also trying to get there, but they don't in the area as well. So I should turn them on. Okay, we're going to race. While we race, let's go back to Madam McCurdy.
If there's anybody that can race and, well, find that leopard for you, it's probably going to be Brent. But we can't find Hosanna. However, we have found a ground scraper thrush, which is still quite a nice bird to see. First one I've seen since I've been back in the Sabi sand. Well, to be honest, I also haven't been looking very hard. But quite a cool bird that we see out here. They are pretty. It's just the light is a little bit on the harsh side, as you can imagine, so you can't see all their beautiful markings as nicely. Now, Hosanna, our dear friend, was left unattended, which I feel like is a naughty thing to do, because you can't leave a child unattended. Hey, Craig? He just goes wandering. He loves to move around during this time of the day. So I haven't been able to find him again, but I haven't seen his tracks coming out of the block that he was last seen in. So basically between Weaver's Nest, Pangolin Track, Twin Dams, and Elephant Carcass, he's in that little square. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ventures on back to the Carcass at some point. There are lots and lots of impala in this block. And like we were saying, I mean, a predator, especially a youngster like Hosanna, he knows that Carcass is there. And it's not going to go anywhere. So if he gets desperate, he can go back to it. But I'm sure he prefers the excitement of the stalking, the chase, and then successfully taking down some prey. So I think that's what he's doing, is perhaps he's in this thicket, but we'll try and follow him this afternoon. We'll come and have a look again and see if his footprints are over any of our tire tracks. He does love that area. He spends a lot of time in there. It'll be nice, but he's looking good. He's such a cool cat. He really is the definition of cool cat when I see Hosanna. Just the way that he walks, he just oozes beauty. I mean, you don't even need to know he's there, but something would make you look in his direction. Ooh, hello. Yellow-billed hornbill flying pretty much across my face. What else are we going to see? So those lions, what was I going to say? Now I got distracted. The lions, there we go. Thanks, Nikki. The lions actually, I can't figure out where they came in, but their tracks come up on Twin Dams Road. They then go along Elephant Carcass and then come up Weaver's Nest. So I actually saw Brent. They at one point we had a conversation about it. They must have gone past and had a little look around that carcass. But like we said, with everything that's gone on at the moment, all the female leopards and the prides of lions are a little bit on the nervous side with the with the evokers being around, and then for the leopards with Hukumuri coming in and stirring the pot. So we don't think that they wanted to feed. As you can imagine, that's a hot spot that's going to attract lots of predators eventually. And maybe the Nkuhumas have just said, you know what, it's not worth it with everything that's going on, because that could potentially lure some males on in too. So they've given that a skip. No, oh my goodness. Now I'm actually not sure of this one about the mountain lion, if it's related to the African lion. No, not directly. I'm just trying to, I don't know what the Latin name is for a mountain lion. Well, the African lion is Panthera leo. I wonder if it is also part of the Panthera, if it makes part of the big cats, perhaps. But I'm not really sure. I mean, no, my books, I've only got African mammal books, sadly, so I can't even look up what it is. Maybe somewhere along the line. I don't know. I think they'd be more closely related to pumas. I don't know. I'm making it all up. I haven't got a clue. I'm trying to think. Oh, here we go. Ah, Puma concala. So maybe I'm not talking too much nonsense. So there we go. Thank you, Alicia's in Final Control. She Googled it. So then my guessing was not too far off. It was very close. So they are more closely related to the puma. That's what I initially thought. I thought, no, they don't really look like lions or anything. So there we go. Not part of the Panthera family, unfortunately. I've never seen a mountain lion before. Obviously, only ever seen pictures of them, and unfortunately, I don't know too much about them. But of course, always nice to add to my knowledge, and hopefully one day I'll be able to add it to the list of cats that I've actually been able to see across the world. So that's quite cool, in fact. Right, so we're coming up to quarantine. Craig, are you starving after watching those hyenas and vultures eat the carcass? Ravenous. He's peckish. I'm ravenous. I don't know what we're having this morning. I think I could have some yogurt, although I don't know if we'll have yogurt on our... We get food order comes today, so normally the fridges are looking a little bit bare, as they do. And I was hoping for some double cream plain yogurt with maybe the trail mix that's made in a big jar. It looks like there's coconut shavings and almonds and cashews and types of muesli and all sorts of other things. Sprinkle some of that on, maybe with a drizzle of honey, because it's quite hot today. That's what I'm thinking of. Craig, however, has told me he doesn't want to have anything to do with the fruit and yogurt this morning, and he wants a hot breakfast. What would you like for breakfast, Craig? Eggs Benedict. Eggs Benedict would be nice. I might trade in my fruit breakfast if it's going to be Eggs Benedict today with hollandaise sauce. Can you imagine? Oh, we need the asparagus again. So delicious. So delicious. All right, round we go. See what else we can find here on the open area. Maybe we'll get a bird. There's a bird. Hello, starling. It's a Birchall, starling. Please don't fly away. We need you. We need you to stay on the ground. What you doing? Pecking. Hot already. Beak wide open. My goodness. I don't know what the temperature is going to be today. Shall we take a little stab at it? I think it's probably going to get to about 34 degrees Celsius, 35 degrees Celsius today. That's what I'm thinking. And there's Birchall starting just walking around every now and then, maybe chasing the odd insect that's hiding away from the sun under those blades of grass and other little shrubs and little plants that are growing there, some sennas. I'm pretty sure there's some devil's thorn through there too. Catching all the little beetles. Yeah, that's actually what it's looking for. See, it's going to every little plant. Wait, got a bit of a fright. Off it goes. Very nice, behind the termite mound. Perhaps it will find some termites to eat. Maybe. Maybe I'll find some termites to eat before we get back for breakfast. Okay, where are we going now? No, Brent is racing to try and get you a leopard. Now, I mean, we're not sure if that cat is on our traverse just yet. I think that maybe it's still walking through the property, through Arathusa or Simbambili on its way. Oh. Okay, well, it seems as though Brent has made it to the cut line very quickly and he's waiting patiently. Let's go see if he's managed to get hold of the chaps on the other radio channel.
It's always a patience game out here. So we're waiting. I'm trying to sit this way so I can look both ways. So where she last was less than 100 meters from us, 50, 60 meters. So fingers crossed, is she going to pop out on the cut line in the last few seconds of drive? I'm hoping so. Now, the other thing is she might have disappeared into that little river system there. There might be some water, and she might have gone for a drink. It's nice thick shade there, so she might have stopped. But you know what? It was worth the chance. we know exactly what the lions were going to be doing, sleeping. So to find a leopard on the move, I think it was worth the risk. And just checking both ways. Now, as I said, there's quite a lot of activity. The Nkuhumas are not too far away from a herd of buffalo, so that's very good prospects for this afternoon. Of course, Hasana's just being Hasana, meandering about, causing havoc as he goes. And the Hukamuri is definitely still within that block between Sandy Patch and Aubrey's Road. I'm pretty sure it's got hot now, and he's just decided to go flat. And what else was there? Oh, now we've got Shidulu possibly finished her kill and might be coming through onto Djuma as well. Now, of course, there's always a chance Tandi will move during the day, although there was no sign of her. Not quarantine. Tingana might pop in from Chitra or Little Gowrie, especially with that elephant carcass there. And, of course, that elephant carcass is definitely going to attract attention this evening. So from all of us, it's Friday Live. Join us in a few short hours for the next adventure.